So let's start with the sanctions. These new sanctions on Russia, they are designed to plug loopholes and also choke off Moscow's war financing. But how much impact will this have, considering how Russia has managed to navigate through sanctions, especially through oil exports?
That's an interesting question, Precious, because a lot of experts, a lot of people, they say that these sanctions, they haven't been working as desired because the way they measure is by taking into account Russia's advance into Ukraine. But the way I see it, they have been working slowly. Some people say that they haven't had the desired effect because the way they see is that they will only work if Russia completely withdraws from Ukraine. But if we take a look at the economic effects that they have been having in Russia, they are hurting the Russian economy. If we take a look, for example, at the ruble exchange rate, some people say, well, the ruble is stronger than ever, but only because the government has made it difficult for Russian business and other people to remove money from their country, which makes the currency stronger. When they take a look at, for example, the unemployment rates, what happens is that the official numbers, they say something. They say that, for example, the amount of people that don't have a job right now is only 3.7%. But there are also ways that Russia can put a little bit of makeup in those numbers. For example, there are people getting paid leave. So if we take a look at the amount of Russians that are not actually working right now, it's 10% of the total workforce, which is a number 3 times larger than the official numbers say. So, and also it's been affecting the Russian industry because they need to import parts of products from the West. It's been harming the Russian economy, but it takes a long time. We cannot expect that it will have an immediate effect. So the sanctions that are being made now will be more felt in a few months.
And we would have that conversation about the impact in the coming months. But you and I spoke some time ago about Brazil trying to create an alliance with some countries who will serve as mediators in this particular war. We also know that the African Union is looking to do same. But I want to take a quote by leaders in this summit. And it says, our support for Ukraine will not waver. We will not tire in our commitment to mitigate the impact of Russia's illegal actions on the rest of the world. Now, when you look at this statement, especially the first part of it, does this suggest to you that the G7 leaders are not open to any immediate political solution to this crisis?
I don't think so. I think it's a G7 meeting only concerning Ukraine. Some people say, well, it's also a way that these countries can get together and also talk about China's position. And if we look at the other countries that were invited, we have India, South Korea, Brazil, Australia, and Comoros, because it's representing the African Union, it's holding the chair. If we look at all these countries, there is a specific reason why each one of them is there. For example, India calls itself a neutral country, but we know that it's been benefiting from buying cheap Russian oil and gas. Brazil is there because it's the largest economy in Latin America. So what I see is that the G7 countries are trying to bring these developing economies closer so they are protected from Russian and Chinese influence. I don't think that Brazil will be able in the short term to try to negotiate or to have a peace club the way President Lula said a few weeks ago, because when President Lula accused Ukraine of being responsible for the invasion, we're talking about a country that was invaded, and when he accused the European Union of being responsible for the continuation of the war, he loses the morality to talk about that, to be a mediator, because he's not neutral when he talks like that.
Some time ago, I think it was last week, where President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa was saying that, look, as the African Union prepares to send 5 countries to mediate in this war, some officials in Washington, D.C. are not in support. That's the body language, they are getting. Could the G7 leaders become a barrier to any country that's trying to mediate if they are not in support of it?
I don't think so. I think any country that tries to mediate will be welcome, but I don't think that other countries that are outside of this will be able to actually have a powerful effect on mediating. When you talk about the G7, they are not only the seven largest democratic economies in the world, but they are also the countries that help Ukraine fight so far. Zelensky is now, I think, Saudi Arabia. He should come to the G7 on Sunday. Still, it's a speculation, it's not yet confirmed, but he's been traveling throughout the G7 countries. He went to Italy, he went to Germany, he went to Britain, France, just a few days ago to get the support from these countries to continue to defend itself. And it's been working because all of these countries, they promise more help to Ukraine. And only these countries, they actually have been decisive for the protection that Ukraine has been holding.
We're waiting for the public statement on the direction that the G7 would like to take in terms of China. That's the other country that's on the table. Thank you so much for talking to us. International relations expert and political commentator Uriah Fancheli.
Thank you, Precious.